You take every time she says that, you do edit that out, right?
I had extremely high hopes for this episode.
I'm sorry, Byron. I hate disappointing people.
Byron, at this point in your life, it's probably about time you get acquainted to the disappointment that awaits.
It is Frightday. This is episode 37. I'm your host, Byron. And tonight, we decipher the ravings of a potentially paranoid schizophrenic war veteran reviewing Mickey Keating's Pod. And we fall deeper into Central Washington's alleged endless pit in Mel's Hole Part 2 of Kelly's Cryptids and Conspiracies.
Captain.
I'm joined tonight by Kelly.
Hello.
And Sam.
Hey, guys.
Someday you'll be a real captain.
I'm a real captain today. I'm a member of the Fairies Research Group.
How are you
And I am a
reading
cryptozoologist.
depth charts and navigating by the stars?
You don't navigate by the stars these days. Sam.
Rigging
Us
sails.
captains have way better technology. I don't have to rig sails. I have cabin boys for that
Identifying
I'm not a
lighthouses.
cabin boy.
shit. You're a cabin boy.
Not a cabin boy.
cabin boy.
I'm not.
Chris Elliott.
Cabin Boy
Is your name.
definitely has gay porn overtones.
No, it's a Chris Elliott movie.
Stop. Everyone.
Madness.
So what'd you do this week, Byron?
Well, I went a bit tape crazy. I watched a movie called The Poughkeepsie Tapes, which, I think you both know.
Bit, yes.
Enough. And then I watched a lesser-known film called The Tapes.
Okay, let's hear about both of them. I want to hear about both of them. These are things I might actually want to watch.
You've never seen The Poughkeepsie Tapes?
No, I haven't.
No.
Well, that's understandable. It's a bit of a legend. Despite being widely advertised in 2007, its theatrical release was pulled entirely and was never released to Blu-ray or DVD. It was eventually released briefly to VOD on DirecTV in July and then immediately pulled less than a month later. But I like it a lot. It's a documentary-style film. It's not found footage.
Okay.
Abandoned house in Poughkeepsie, these police investigating a murder uncover hundreds of tapes in the floorboards and in the walls, covering decades of first-person serial kills.
Really?
The whole movie is kind of overworked in effects.
Gotcha.
There's just something not quite right with the production of it. It is one of the first movies by the, what are they called? The Dowdle brothers. Do you remember them?
I don't.
So they did Quarantine, Devil, and As Above, So Below. So it was the early work of those two. Fun, super dark, but yeah, as I said, acting and editing are pretty low budge. It's a fun watch, and I'm sure if you look for it, you'll find it, and eventually I'll find it and buy it. Hopefully.
So is it actually shot on tape or is it just edited?
I think that the serial killer shots were shot on tape, but it's just a bit over the top, shifting between green and red. The tracking is obviously kind of fucked with a little bit in post to make it look more scary, which it didn't really need to be. It was already very scary. There's masks, there's bondage, there's all kinds of really horrendous acts.
Let's check that out.
And then I will also watch The Tapes, which I don't really want to talk too much about. It's a 2011 horror film, found footage. 3 British students bump into a devil-worshipping cult while filming a Big Brother audition tape. It's just a bit annoying, really hard to watch. Also,
Not scary.
Not scary. It claims to have these subliminal messages, which are just quick clips to what the cult members look like, inserted in the film.
So it's not like a big
No big dicks, but I don't know. You can't just call something like that subliminal.
when it's that obvious.
Yeah, I
That's
didn't.
liminal.
Absolutely liminal. They also compared it to The Wicker Man, and I think that that's very undeserved. The Wicker Man is a great film, and obviously we're talking about the Nick Cage version.
Yeah, I just automatically assume that if the word great's in a sentence, that Nick Cage is going to follow pretty shortly after.
Those are the tapes I watched.
Yeah.
I also caught a movie called Final Girl.
I was curious about that one. We saw the trailer
Not
for that
the Final
last
Girls.
week.
Not
the
to be
Final
confused.
Girls. Not the
Yeah.
movie we saw at the Stanley Film Festival. This is more of a thriller with horror subject matter. It's a 2015 film that was just released to VOD. Feature directorial debut of a guy named Tyler Shields, who I don't know much about at all. But after the murder of this gentleman's wife and children, this guy named William, played by Wes Bentley, a man who was in the movie we covered last week, Amnesiac, meets a child version of this girl named Victoria, eventually played by Abigail Breslin, under similar circumstances. Like,
And can I just mention that Abigail is Little Miss Sunshine?
absolutely.
I mean, I'm not trying to delve out of
I'm
horror,
sure she doesn't like being called Little Miss Sunshine.
but that's okay. She did a damn good job in that movie.
Well, yeah, but she's a full-grown adult now,
Yeah, well,
doing
that's
adult
fine.
things. So Wes Bentley trains this girl to be the perfect killer, like a revenge machine.
It's like the professional kind of.
Yeah, I thought about Buffy the Vampire Slayer a little bit.
I think about Buffy the Vampire Slayer a lot.
Nice. Their latest target is this group of 4 affluent young men who, in their leisure time, take blonde girls into the woods and hunt them down.
Only blondes.
That's the people they like. You know how rich people hunt foxes sometimes?
Yeah, it's disgusting. Have you ever seen The Fox and the Hound?
Not for years.
So
yeah.
sad. Oh,
It's kind of similar to that. A bunch of spoiled brats take this girl up into the woods. In this case, she is a blonde girl that gets taken into the woods to seek revenge on the 4 boys.
is the revenge satisfying, Byron?
Let's see. The film is beautiful. It's the best shot film I've seen in a long time. It's just not, it isn't satisfying. The second half, once things kind of get rolling, just kind of stays flat. You'd expect the revenge to be a lot more from what they set up. The chemistry between Abigail Breslin and Wes Bentley was great, and it takes up like the first third of the film, but then they separate and things kind of dip.
Oh, interesting. So the relation element was actually the high point.
Yeah, which is odd.
Yeah.
They built this huge training montage that was very effective, and then the actual act of revenge, just didn't work for me. Throughout, it's very surreal, which is a word that we've been saying a lot of lately. Maybe that's a trend in horror. They like this new kind of like bizarre feeling, almost like a dream state.
It's easy to go too far with that.
And it's out on VOD now. If you're interested in any of this, you should check it out. It's definitely more of a thriller.
Yeah, it's all right, though. There's nothing wrong with that.
I had a lot of fun.
Can I just really briefly talk about 2 things that I learned this week that
Sure.
were kind of cool? Well, actually, one of them sucked. I don't know if you guys heard this.
Jared Fogle, we know.
No, I don't give a shit about Fogel.
Still
Although
gonna eat
I do
spicy
like
Italians.
Subway, and I know that that's gross, but I do like Subway. They're going to all natural ingredients by next year.
I defy them to make an all-natural seafood club.
They're probably going to have to yank that
Seafood
one.
sensation.
Seafood sensation.
Thank you.
Which, for you listeners who think that Sam might be anything other than horribly mean to me,
Wait, where are we going here?
Who thinks that?
there happens to be an amazing story about when we took a road trip, and knowing that the seafood disgusted me thoroughly, Sam decided to purchase a foot-long seafood surprise
Seafood sensation.
from Subway and consume it sitting next to me in the car.
You act like you can't eat a sandwich in your presence.
Not a freaking
Oh, yeah, you roll the
seafood.
windows up, get on the highway, mow down on that. I don't even know what it is, but it's great.
It's horrible.
You smell it for the whole 13
Okay,
hours you're in
so
the
back
car.
to what I was going to
Jesus
talk
Christ.
about. Mulder and Scully are going to be broken up in the new series.
Well, that's sure.
No, they haven't been. They've been together through the movies.
Well, I know, but of course they're going to be broken up. You think they were a good couple?
Of course they're a good couple.
I know they care.
Mulder is too driven and focused
You're
on
my
his
1
work.
in 5 billion.
I know that they care about each other, and I'm sure they always will.
No, they're in love with each other. It's just they're both really mourning the loss of their son.
What?
Oh, don't you remember in the movie they had to give William up to save him?
I don't remember.
William wasn't their son.
Yes, he was.
Ugh.
God, are you guys even fans? What the
The movies weren't
The
very
movies
good.
aren't very good. No.
Okay, but it doesn't matter. A true fan. Okay, and the other thing, Byron, this is a tip of the hat to you, sir.
Ooh, I'll take it.
Do you remember when we first learned about American Horror Story Hotel and you started talking to us about this interesting thing that happened 2 years ago at the Cecil Hotel where this poor Asian Canadian girl was going up in the elevator.
Canadian.
Was going up in the elevator, seen on these cameras acting very weird, and then was discovered in the water tank on top of the roof.
After people started complaining about the taste of the water.
Yes. This week, show creator Ryan Murphy revealed that that is indeed the real life inspiration for American Horror Story Hotel.
Didn't I call it that the Cecil?
That's why I said it's a tip
you're
of the hat to
Oh,
you.
well, then I'll take it again.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive because we were just, if I remember correctly, spitballing different horror hotel ideas like the
Yeah, you're
Devil in
right.
the White City.
But it wasn't even just Byron saying it'd be cool if it was about. I think Byron actually said, I bet it has something to do with. Blah, 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 blah.
Well, the Cecil is such an iconic hotel, you know.
Right, but this specific story,
There's
pretty cool, Byron.
people commit suicide out of it.
It's grim. It's a
Failed
grim
actors.
place.
One person jumped out of it and landed on another person, killing them as well. It was
Oh,
also
God.
It was also the temporary home of Richard Ramirez, aka the Night Stalker.
Stalker?
You know him.
Saying stalker
sounds
is
so
kind of like saying
whimsical.
Washington.
Yeah.
He's the Night Stalker.
Stalker. It's very North
Count.
Dakota.
No, it
That's
does.
fun too.
It could have been either, I guess. It was interesting, though. I was reading a little bit about American Horror Story and their background. I hadn't realized this, but the alien abductions that took place in season 2 in Asylum, it annoyed me that they worked in Aliens to that, because really Aliens deserve their own season.
It was brief and unnecessary.
But it was based on Betty and Barney Hill.
Holy shit. I guess I didn't even think about that.
It makes sense.
It does,
But I
except-
didn't think about that either. Just some fun asides on that.
Well, I appreciate it.
After shaming the shit out of you last week, I figured I should probably give you some due respect.
Do you want me to bring up the shaming?
Well, I do. Okay, here's the thing. I apologize for
I'd
shaming
like to delve
you.
into shame.
I just feel that I like to take a stance against the support of any person being.
No one was supporting.
By reading
Right.
his manifesto on our podcast?
I cut that out.
I know that was a really poor decision on my part. I'm going to fully admit that.
Wait, what part?
I gave him a lot of play, and I shouldn't have talked about him at all.
No,
Byron, cut
I
him out.
disagree.
Oh, did you cut it out?
No,
No, I thought we were talking about my personal manifesto that
Oh,
I cut out.
no. I was talking about the
Oh, the Lucifer
Yeah.
manifesto. Oh, I thought you were talking about my personal.
Lucio Valentino or whatever his name is.
yeah, I mean, somebody else came in and read those parts of his.
I see what you're saying. You wish we wouldn't have given him enough play, and I just want to let people
Well, that
know.
wasn't really it was my fault entirely.
Sure, I just want people to know that this is a horror podcast, and we're going to talk about some horrific stuff sometimes.
Yeah, but I don't like to support.
That we didn't support.
Well, but
no one
honestly,
was supporting that.
you know the phrase "all press is good press."
Yeah.
We kind of supported him.
Anything
I
that
think
gets
we
people-
supported us. I think
Okay,
it was very
that's right.
interesting
But just
to me.
just to be clear, and Byron is very much on this same page. Nobody likes Lucifer Valentine.
Wait, I thought we were all on the side of Lucifer
Yeah,
Valentine.
maybe you should talk to Byron and I before you make
Okay.
blanket statements
All right.
like
well,
that.
you guys suck. Lucifer Valentine is
Rules. Wait, what are we doing?
the worst.
I can't remember what we're doing.
Back to what I watched this week. Hey, you
There's
guys
a
know what I saw
podcast?
this week?
Yes.
First time ever, Interview with a Vampire.
Really?
Yeah. Kind of creepy sexual with the little girl.
With Kay Dunst.
Yeah, with droopy boobs herself.
That's enough. She didn't have them then. So
Well,
we
maybe
don't-
she did. I don't know. There was something that kept attracting that pit and cruise to her. I don't know. It was fine. It was just interesting. It wasn't really what I was expecting, I guess. I remember when it came out, it was one of those many movies on like the There's No Way in Hell You're Going to Watch This list for my parents. I guess I kind of like...
But is it even really that violent or sexual?
No.
I know that there's that play scene where there's a naked body.
No, I
being
just felt like
simulated
the
vampire.
treatment of the daughter
Sure.
was kind of oddly sexual throughout the whole thing because the movie's so sexual.
But that happens with vampires across all kinds of
Yeah, but-
lore.
yeah,
Like
because she's much older. She's older than her chronological age.
there's even a
Yeah, okay. That's, awesome.
there's even a joke about that in What We Do in the Shadows. Remember, we're going to bite some perverts. Those two New Zealand girls that turned into vampires as children, they go and bite the perverts.
In the alley, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just saying that there's a lot of vampire youth sexuality.
Right, but it still creeps me out.
I think
Sure.
the thing about Interview with a Vampire, and maybe you had a different experience, Kelly, is that it sucks shit.
I didn't think it sucked shit. I didn't think it was that bad.
I don't think it's that bad either, Sam.
I
Sam
think I will
really
go on
hates
record
Tom
as
Cruise.
saying that Anne Rice is one of the most overrated horror authors, or maybe authors, just period, of all time.
I've never read her stuff. You know me, I'm illiterate, but I didn't think the movie was that bad.
It's like Harlequin vampire bullshit.
It felt that, yeah. But, I like a good pit.
You like a good pit.
I like a good pit. So I watched that. I also watched Inner Demons,
Oh, I've seen that.
which tapped into a few of my guilty pleasures, one of them being
Heroin.
found footage.
Wait, what?
One of them being found footage, one of them
She
being
doesn't
that
feel guilty about
horribly
that.
grim TV show Intervention, and another one being exorcism films, and it was a blend of all three. So it was.
But will it blend? Did it work?
It blended. It obviously it's kind of your standard mid-level indie found footage horror flick, so it wasn't brilliant, but I did think that it was well done. I thought it was a very unique idea, and it actually took a much darker, more bloody turn that I think both of you would have appreciated
I did
towards
appreciate
the end.
Yeah, I did.
So it wasn't bad. I'm glad I watched it.
I've noticed this trend in a lot of these type of found footage films where it's
Okay.
flat, mediocre, and potentially PG-13, and then
And then bam,
They slam you with something vile. Or
Shazam!
don't. I think it's there to blindside you from the fact that you've seen like 45 minutes of nothing, and then all of a sudden you're just like, holy shit.
That's the impression they want you to walk out with.
Like, I didn't not like Deborah Logan.
That is exactly where I was going with
That was the same thing. They do something over the top at the end that leaves you wondering, what was that? What happened and why?
And now I kind of forget a little bit. I mean, the rest of the Deborah Logan was fine.
There's a couple good moments.
Yeah.
Deborah Logan is higher up on my list of acceptability, but Inner Demons, I was just not super impressed with.
I mean, it wasn't bad. I didn't think it was bad.
Would you have paid VOD for it? Like,
Yeah.
like I did? You would have?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I like to support the industry. So I think it's cool that pieces like that get made. The other horror film related thing that Sam and I did this week, we started checking out Shudder, the new streaming service for horror movies specifically. It's pretty cool. They have a lot of different ways that you can search. It's really specifically curated. So you can look at just ghost movies or just alien movies or just human slasher movies. I mean, it's kind of cool.
And one thing that we noticed is they have a lot of the gaps in, or that I noticed more than Kelly. They fill in a lot of the gaps in franchises. Like, I was super excited to see Sleepaway Camp, the original, on there, where it's not available on Netflix or Amazon because distribution disputes or, whatever. Or The House, the original. A lot of cool older stuff. Byron, I don't know how much of it you'd be enthused about.
Yeah. Maybe I should check it out before I say anything, because you guys have given it rather glowing recommendations. So maybe it does have something for me. But when I go to places like Amazon Prime or Hulu Plus and look at their horror selection, it's pretty grim. You know?
But this has more. I think that's the
whole point.
Yeah.
And an ever increasing, this is kind of the ground floor. Their plan is at least to ever increase their selection. But honestly, I have so much to watch already in my existing outlets that I don't know if I have time for another streaming service.
And how much is it a month?
It's $4.99 a month or $49.99 a year.
That seems reasonable.
Oh, yeah. It's super affordable.
So I'm looking on here now. They've got A Lonely Place to Die, which is a really fun kind of thriller action film. The Tale of Two Sisters, a bunch of, I mean, it looks great. It's got a lot of stuff that I would watch. It's got Bay of Blood that you talked about a couple weeks ago.
Well, I probably won't have time to watch a lot of these. It's cool that someone is actually putting some serious thought into this.
Well, and they're actually curating the way it's done, too. They took one of the guys from Shock Till You Drop, left to work for Shudder. Did they have a free trial, or did you just sign up?
They have a free trial through Roku, but we couldn't tell. I think it might be because they also have a live streaming television channel. So I think it's a 14-day free trial of that.
I think that's genius. I think maybe you and I talked about this.
Yeah.
All these streaming services like Netflix and Hulu need to have a simulated live television, and it could be curated by someone. Like I would love George Clooney to pick what I watch for 24 hours or something.
And have Elvira host it.
Why not? Yeah, why not talk in between? I think that would officially put the dirt on the mound of cable television. Sometimes you just need something live to feel alive, right?
I feel the same way. And I find myself...
Don't agree with me. It was very dark.
Oh,
I don't know that I agree with that. That was kind of melodramatic.
Well, sometimes you turn on the radio because you know that other people are listening to the same thing that you're listening to.
And that's what we miss with cutting the cord with cable is not only are you sharing that experience with other people, there's somebody at the other end in my imagination at a control board that's awake when I am, pushing buttons to bring me this experience.
When I look up at the moon and see you, and I know you're looking up at the moon too, we're looking at the same moon.
Oh, Byron, that's the most beautiful thing anyone's ever said. It's from 5
there.
Well, that's great. I've been very curious about Shudder.
Yeah, I think part of our homework for this week, everybody, should be to watch at least a couple of things on Shudder.
Okay.
Go.
Not right now.
Well, no, I mean, we have to finish the podcast.
I got some stuff to do.
It's going to be a long podcast.
Oh, hey, guys, one more thing. Guess what?
What?
You guys remember when we talked to Lyle Blackburn recently?
Yes, yeah.
Guess what?
What?
2 lizard man sightings last week in South Carolina.
No kidding.
Last week, 2.
Were they like violent encounters or just typical
just
in a headlight?
Sightings. And actually, one of them made it on CNN.
Were they by moonlight or by moonshine?
I'm not dignifying that with a response.
Rude.
You don't have to pick just one.
It could be a bit of both. What did CNN have to say about the lizard man?
Well, the photo that they posted it's not.
Sure, it's bad.
I'll show you the photo right now,
Byron. I don't need
Byron.
to see it. I'm sure
Byron,
it's bad.
can I show you the photo, please? Byron, can you look at my photo?
Sure. Okay. Oh my God. That's a toy. That's like a toy action figure.
I know. But there was another lizard man sighting too.
But
so.
you could like just imagine it looked like more realistic and it was like the real lizard man. And that's like pretty much what it probably looked like.
Lyle wouldn't appreciate that.
Some Twitter user posted something really funny though. $10 says that the hashtag lizard man sightings in South Carolina are really just a Scooby-Doo villain scaring people away from some buried treasure.
It's quite possible that under that mask
is some old man.
Or a disgruntled caretaker.
Oh, God.
Yep.
Sam, did you do anything that we didn't?
Yeah.
Oh.
I did. I wanted to just quickly mention a tangentially horror-related. We watched a movie called Pioneer. It's a Norwegian movie, co-starring Wes Bentley.
Oh, is it Wes Bentley week?
It is, yeah, which is hilarious. It's a thriller. It's definitely not horror, but it's a fantastic story about an industrial accident in the deep diving industry of the Norwegian oil boom in the 70s. So, like I said, it's Mr. Bentley, co-starring, stole the show. What I really wanted to talk about was a fantastic little movie that I watched this week called Would You Rather?
Okay, yeah, it's a fun little flick.
Yeah, you had recommended it to me, and you were absolutely right. Starring Brittany Snow, Sasha Grey. Yep, I know.
God, you guys are gross.
John Hurd, who is always fantastic.
Especially in Home Alone.
Most importantly, starring the reanimator himself, Jeffrey Combs.
Well, that's not who I was going to say, but yeah, he's great too. I was going to talk about that gentleman from Trailer Park Boys that's in this.
What's it? Bubbles? Tell me it's Bubbles.
Not Bubbles.
Damn it.
Who's the guy that plays Ricky?
Rob Wells.
Yeah. Did you mention that name already?
I didn't.
Okay, good.
But yes, Ricky from Trailer Park Boys. From a movie that has an eyeball with an approaching razor blade as its poster, you get pretty much exactly what the title and the poster promise. It is a fairly standard premise that somehow manages to step beyond the bounds of its tropes. Jeffrey Combs, again, I got to hammer this, is absolutely incredible as the host of this mad dinner party wherein people have been promised untold sums of money to cure all of their worldly ails if they just show up to this mysterious dinner party. Great idea. Typically turns out really well. But these people are desperate. So then they're engaged in an ever-increasing set of dares where they're given alternatives, hurt themselves, hurt someone else, hurt themselves a little bit, hurt themselves a little bit in a different way, in an ever-escalating set of these really gruesome dares. There are a couple times where it starts to veer into some really tired tropes, stomps on them and swerves back in without giving anything away. There are some possible lights at the end of the tunnel that are snuffed out.
Oh, God. Such a fun movie.
It is.
What I like about it is it doesn't necessarily take itself too serious.
Very much so.
Fun over the scares. The scares are there, but it's still the whole time entertaining.
It toes the gore line. Yeah, so check it out. Streaming on Netflix. Would you rather?
It's got a great poster. And it's got Sasha Grey, ex-porn star. Also a star of Open Windows.
Oh, God, get over it.
She's beautiful.
And Open Windows was great.
Get over it.
Well, let's get into something else then.
Should we crawl into a hole?
And fall down it forever.
I wish.
In this week's edition of Kelly's Cryptids and Conspiracies.
Kelly's Cryptids and Conspiracies.
To quickly recap, everyone, here we are.
Mel's Hole Part 2.
Mel's Hole makes me so happy. That was a creepy sentence. Okay. All right. For those of you who missed part 1 of Mel's Hole, quite possibly the best cryptid story of all time.
Maybe.
Go back and listen to the episode 36, and then come back to this because you can't come in midstream. But if you want to, quick recap, or for those of you who listen to 36 and now are tuning back in, where we last heard about Mel, he was calling in for the second time to Art Bell. It was 2002, and he had been to Australia and back. This is after discovering, obviously, the bottomless hole on his property, which he
supposedly bottomless.
Right. He lowered 80,000 feet of fishing line into, never hit the bottom, called Art Bell originally. Then suddenly government officials showed up, paid to lease his land, and he moved to Australia to start a wombat rescue. So here we are. He's now back in the States. Things have gone a bit haywire, and he is relaying the story about these very strange 1943 Roosevelt dimes, which in theory should not exist, that were found on his property and that he used to make belt buckles.
Multi-dimensional dimes.
Right, clearly. He also, at this point, is talking about the Terra server that shows a white box over his land, and the Terra server being essentially precursor to Google Maps. As he's talking about this on his call-in 2002, fans are looking it up on the internet at the same time and discovering, oh my God, he's not lying. This is crazy. Here comes the next piece of the story. A camera crew went to Ellensburg and saw evidence that there had been military up there. According to Mel, he talked to a lot of people at a truck stop that was close to that property who had actually seen a black beam of what can only be described as anti-light shooting up into the sky from the area where the hole was located. This apparently happened every so often. There would be this like pitch black anti-light beam shot up from the hole.
Like the smoke monster from Lost.
Yeah.
Sure.
Solid beam.
Black.
Is that like something on a Pink Floyd album cover? Or
Don't Pink Floyd this. Knock that shit
I'll do
off.
my best, sorry.
And another trucker that Mel had talked to said at one point he had delivered a ton of fiber optic equipment to a warehouse in Ellensburg to a, quote, group of Israelis. And then another trucker said he had delivered crated instruments from Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory in San Francisco to that same warehouse where the fiber optics were delivered. This laboratory does indeed work on projects for the U.S. military.
Yeah, but I mean, there's military... Oh, you're yawning.
Sorry.
You boring yourself?
No, I'm really tired. You don't even know.
Okay.
You don't even know.
That's okay.
Okay. So this laboratory definitely works on military projects. Obviously, we're taking Mel's word for it that there was a trucker who actually identified delivering that material. But the coincidence that's kind of interesting is that Mel turned up with his teeth knocked out and wakes up from some type of drugged out state in San Francisco.
Which is something that, I mean, pretty much anyone could do, though. I even in that movie we watched tonight, Pod, there's a couple similar elements here.
Good point.
Yep.
But we will take Mel's word for the sake of the story.
Okay. Well, I think that at this point, there's a lot in Mel's story. I mean, to be honest, I can't assess whether Mel is telling 100% the truth, but I will tell you that if you listen to the audio, he sounds about as genuine as anybody you've ever heard. So I think it's either he has, and I can't even say this, but the movie we watched tonight, it's either a situation like that.
Okay.
Or he is just crazy. It's very clear to me from listening to the audio that he's not pulling this as a stunt. It's not a calculated, like, I'm going to bullshit this.
You think calling into a radio station isn't for...
Right, but that's not what I'm saying. Obviously, a lot of people do that. I'm saying if you listen to the tone and if you listen to the way he tells the story, if you listen to how scared he sounds at certain points, I think it's incredibly genuine. Now, whether it's genuine because it's real or it's genuine because he's crazy and believes it's real, I don't know.
Bottom line, he thinks it's real.
I really do think that. Yeah.
Okay.
What I've talked about up until this point certainly requires the suspension of disbelief. Now, a redefinition of that suspension.
This is a whole different dime world.
It is. Okay. Mel found another hole.
What? I had no idea.
Yeah. So a fan actually calls in and asks, what are the odds of a single person finding two bottomless pits in one lifetime?
Well, if that person lives where the two bottomless pits are.
Well, no, the second one was not there. Okay.
Oh, no.
So because Coast to Coast was so popular, when he first came on, a lot of people responded to it. In the Western United States, there's a lot of unused public land. We know this. We live here. And there are also Native American reservations. Given the subject matter of this show, people who are interested in this phenomena, including a group of Native Americans in Nevada, heard this show and contacted him, inviting him down to their reservation to discuss his arts, crafts, and knowledge about wild plants. Because if you recall, he was growing wild medicinal plants on his property.
Are we talking marijuana?
No, he wasn't. But the government threatened to say that they found a drug lab on his property if he didn't agree to lease the property.
I do remember that.
Mel goes down to Nevada. Why the hell not?
So wait. Through the show, they got Mel's number.
They got Mel's email, I think.
Okay.
Contact info.
Sure.
So he goes down to Nevada. This is in 2001. So
Mel at Yahoo.
Right, something like that.
Because he's a Yahoo.
No. I mean, maybe. You wouldn't believe how many people I know that still use Yahoo. It's
Just
really
look
strange.
him up on GeoCities.
Mel goes to Nevada. He talks to these Native Americans. They talked a lot about natural plants, medicinal purposes, and they were really interested in the research he had done there. Then they took him to this area of land where another hole was located. It was the middle of a village where Basques, who are individuals that originally came from the specific region in Spain, and I'm going to get into that more in a second, were raising sheep in Nevada. Now, something interesting about Basques. I'm going to go into left field here. Prepare yourself.
Wait, we have been in left field all day.
No.
Right?
We're going further. We're going further. Okay.
No, that
so
was-
everybody has a blood type.
Sure.
They're either positive or negative, and they're like A, B, or O, right?
Yes.
So if you're A positive, that means you have the rhesus factor in your blood. If you're negative, it means you don't. It's called Rh negative. I discovered this when I was pregnant because if you're Rh negative, you have to get special shots when you're pregnant to make sure that your body doesn't try and fend off the baby because it's likely to have a different blood type than you. Rh negative is a pretty rare thing. It's like 9% of the population or something. And there are theories that all Rh negative individuals can be traced back to the Basque region in Spain and that they are all descendants of a hybrid race
aliens. Oh,
planted
no.
by aliens.
Oh my God.
What do you
And
mean?
here we go.
Oh my God,
Here we
like
go.
this was unexpected.
Prepare yourself. Sam and I are both Rh negative.
Well, I'm fucking out of here.
Yeah, prepare yourself.
You're not going
Byron,
there.
what's your blood type?
I don't know.
You should figure out.
I don't
You should
need
figure out if
to.
you're one of the chosen or not.
No, Byron's fine.
I don't need to know.
You do medical work. You should know what your blood type is. Anyhow, we may have some kind of claim to this hole in Nevada. I'm just saying.
What?
Well, yeah, we've got Rh negative, which means we're Basque, which means we're hybrids, which means we have something to do with this hole in Nevada.
I'm sure that there's room for everyone.
Okay, obviously I don't really mean that, but we are both Rh negative, and it's kind of
Literally.
interesting. It's funny to read all the theories that people have about Rh negative blood, but
Basically, you're a hybrid of what, greys or reptilians? Do we know?
I don't know.
Well, you don't know your lineage?
You know, it's funny because the people that talk about this online aren't necessarily coherent
Sure.
about the full theory. So I'm still digging a bit.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a hard dig,
Yeah,
usually.
it is a hard dig. Okay, so anyhow, here we are, Native Americans, Mel, Basque Village, Nevada. Hole.
We got another.
Another hole. Apparently, they'd been there since the 1800s, and they considered this hole a spiritual point.
So far, I do have to say this is playing out like most sequels to films. Just really over the top.
It is over the top.
It's
I warned you
exploited.
last week that it was
Yeah.
going to be over the
Oh,
top.
it hasn't
right.
even gotten weird yet.
God.
Oh, yeah, Byron, you got nothing.
Okay.
Oh my God, this is going to be crazy. Okay. It's just like Mel's hole in the sense that it's 9 feet wide, except this one has a metal collar around it rather than a stone retaining wall. And the metal lining goes down as far as the eye can see. And there's also kind of this warm zone around it, though the way he describes it, not heat as we normally know it. I'm not sure what the hell that means. But warm, okay? All right.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know what you want me to say to that.
So it had weird sound canceling properties, just like the other hole, Mel's original hole. You never heard an echo. Remember he talked about how
Yeah.
if you threw stuff down, you would never hear noise come out of it. Similarly, this one cancels all sound even made above it. So like if you hit the metal rim with an object, it makes no noise.
Do you remember that pyramid that had anti-gravity characteristics?
Which pyramid?
Oh my God. The one from 3 weeks ago. Really? We talking about
ISIS.
that many pyramids?
Sorry, ISIS.
Oh,
ISIS.
lots of pyramids.
The
Oh my
ISIS.
God.
Yeah, the ISIS
Oh, the
explorers.
Russians.
Yeah.
That's right.
In your daily life, you have like, which pyramid?
No,
was
shit's
it?
Just
weird
Byron,
around
my
here,
brain
Byron.
fills up with a lot of stuff, and it's hard for me to recall things that quickly.
Okay, well, I'm just saying that
I just
maybe
needed a second.
Maybe
now I remember.
maybe that hole has anti-gravity traits as well. No one's ever thought of that.
Okay, so I don't know about the gravity right now, but Byron, I'm talking about sound, not
Okay.
gravity.
Well, but still,
Byron, in the world of physics, sound and gravity are not
Not the same,
synonymous.
I know.
Okay.
but also this doesn't exist.
Oh, it does. It does. And wait until you hear what else exists.
Okay.
Yeah.
Animals are terrified of this hole. And a black beam has also been seen coming from this one, exactly like Mel was talking about from the truckers in Washington. Okay. So Mel and the villagers decide that they're going to perform an experiment.
What year? 2002? 2001.
So they're going to lower a bucket of store-bought ice into the pit as far as they can, 1,500 feet, and they're going to keep another bucket of ice with them on the surface as a control. So they're going to see how much the ice will melt.
Because they're doctorates of thermodynamics.
Oh.
No. Listen to this. So because if they lower the ice, they wait till the ice on top melts halfway, and then they bring the bucket up, then they can compare the two and see what the heat might be like down
Sure.
there. Okay.
Or
So they
just
do
lower
that.
a thermometer.
Here's what's crazy. Prepare for even crazier.
bucket full
Ice
of
in the
dimes.
pit. Ice in the pit didn't.
Is it a bucket of dimes? Is that what we have?
The ice in the pit didn't melt at all.
Okay.
It's now lukewarm,
That's fucking Jesus Christ.
but it remains solid even while sitting in Mel's hands. So it seems to have changed properties in some really weird way.
Okay. Yeah.
So they decided they were going to try harder to melt the ice. They try and cook it over a fire pit. It won't melt. It now catches on fire, and it has a heat-producing flame, but not a large yellow flame, like
Oh
a
my
light
God.
flicker. So Mel says the bucket of ice continued to burn for months,
8 days and nights.
and he presumed it was still burning the moment he was telling the story on air in 2002.
So have you ever taken peyote?
No, I don't do drugs.
What about
have you ever
DMT?
taken a big swig of ayahuasca tea?
What's ayahuasca to you?
Oh, you have never lived.
Oh, wait, wasn't the DMT guy talking about that
Of
the other night?
course.
DMT guy Joe Rogan.
Right. He's the DMT guy.
He's the DMT. Like, hey, Culligan, man.
Okay. Either Mel is insane or lying, or I'm going to propose another theory. He was in a sweat lodge for about 45 minutes where he experienced ice that didn't melt in
I
a
don't know.
hole that had no sound.
There was
Crazier
possibly
things have
some
happened.
sensory deprivation involved.
Just saying.
Crazier things have happened.
No,
people.
that's actually not true.
Well, you haven't even heard.
No.
Byron, you really
That
haven't
hasn't even
heard
gotten
it.
crazy
You
yet.
keep
Oh my
stopping
God.
it.
Oh my God.
Okay. So
We're about to get gonzo.
one of
Okay.
the guys even took this ice home, some of it, put it in his stove, and it's been keeping his cabin warm in the winter.
Where? Who? Where?
Burning
what-
ice. One of the Native Americans down in the in Nevada. Jesus
Follow
Christ.
the story, Byron.
Okay, I'm
Frickin'
just. I need
God.
to
It's a
calm
It's a
down. I'm
logical
just.
narrative.
My problem is so far Mel has provided zero proof. Are there pictures of this ice? Does he have any?
It's not
Okay,
picture
no.
ice,
Byron,
This man has successfully come forward to the public with not one but 2 stories of bottomless pits.
You don't even know how good this story
All right,
gets.
rock and roll.
One of the Basques wanted to be lowered into the hole himself. They talked him out of it. They're like, dude, you're crazy. Do you see what's happening to this ice? Who knows what it's going to do to a living creature? Let's lower a sheep instead.
That's fair. Game.
Really mean to the sheep. I am not for the cruel treatment of animals. I would rather see the cruel treatment of humans. The sheep freaked out, kicked and screamed, panicked, wouldn't go near the hole. And here's where it gets really mean. I don't like this part of the story. They were so determined. They knocked the sheep between the eyes, stunned it enough to put it in a crate with a cable attached for lowering, and then brought it over the hole.
This is Sparta.
It's really mean.
They just kicked it in.
Actually, it is a little bit 300-ish.
Yeah.
Okay. The sheep came to just before it got in the hole, and it went berserk, freaking out inside of the crate and started screaming, as you would imagine it would. However, as soon as the crate was moved to directly over the hole, you could still see it was screaming, but it was dead silent. You couldn't hear a sound. The box was shaking. It was obviously screaming. No noise all of a sudden. So this whole noise canceling thing is really creepy, I think.
So, but why not make a bridge over the hole and test that again? Like lay a ladder.
They're not civil engineers.
What do you mean,
Byron.
a bridge? Why would you put a bridge over the hole?
Sam, how long's a ladder?
Byron, why would you put a bridge over the hole?
I don't know.
Byron, what
8
purpose
feet,
does
10
this bridge
feet.
serve?
To stand on, to test the properties of.
Are you talking about a standard ladder or a metric?
Why
ladder?
do you need a freaking bridge? They're hanging a sheep over it that's screaming.
No, I'm saying to replicate the results, to dig a little bit deeper.
They're lowering a screaming sheep into the hole, Byron.
Did you see what I'm asking?
No,
about?
you're freaking dumb.
I'm asking.
No, I see what you're saying.
I'm asking for them to confirm the fact that there's no sound when you're standing in the middle of the thing.
So you think that there's a possibility that the sheep suddenly just started moving its mouth but not actually screaming?
No, I'm saying that they could easily do another test.
But why would they need to? Why would they have reason to doubt that?
Byron, you're thinking like you're not a crazy
All right,
person,
we
and
have
you
to
need
get-
to stop.
We have to get through this. You're right.
Okay.
I'm gonna not say anything for 60
So
seconds.
the sheep struggles. They're lowering it down. About halfway, the movement had kind of stopped. And once they get all 1,500 feet down, this is another Mel quote, they feel a fuzzy vibration in the metal rim. They left the sheep below for half an hour. Freaking assholes. I think this is so mean. That poor sheep.
It's just a sheep.
Don't say just a sheep.
I'm just.
And then they started to pull it up, and the box was absolutely not moving. So clearly there's something wrong with the sheep. Everything looked good from the outside the box, but inside the sheep is dead. It looked normal from the outside. A butcher decided to open it up and dissect the animal, moved it to this table right by the hole, starts dissecting it. Inside, it looked like it had been cooked. There's a strange gel surrounding an enormous tumorous growth inside the sheep. Are you ready for this? Because this is where the craziest part starts.
I think I'm going to take a break. I'm going to head out.
Nope, get ready.
Okay.
So he takes this tumor out, which appeared to be moving like a little fleshy, maybe chest burster. Who knows? Cuts open the tumor. A fleshy creature emerged that looked like an 18-inch long cross between a fetus and a seal.
Okay. Sure.
Flippers? However, the eyes looked incredibly human. It was alive and connected to the tumor with an umbilical cord.
Okay.
The creature looks around at all the humans surrounding it, disconnected itself from the cord, and Mel says it gave him the feeling of being in the presence of a miracle. One of the Basques suggested killing it, of course, because they apparently really like killing things.
I mean,
they did not kill it.
But it was a seal fetus, so I can see where they're coming from.
Okay, I want to make a children's cartoon of this scene, okay? It crawls to the edge of the table, looks up at Mel, who for some reason feels like this really strong connection to this little creature.
Well, because it's probably psychic.
So Mel feels compelled to pick it up and put it on the ground. The goo left on Mel's hands smelled like ozone, he says.
What the fuck?
So the little... It lays on its belly on the ground and looks up at the humans all around it, okay? Studies each of them as though he's like taking it all in. Apparently they all stood there for like 2 hours just looking at it. Mel talks about how the eye contact of this creature was the most compassionate look he's ever witnessed. Eventually, after they've stared at it for a long time, the creature makes its way towards the hole. Mel helps it up to the top of the metal rim.
No.
The creature gives the men a slow nod. It then turned around and plunged itself back into the hole.
No, he didn't.
Don't you want to see a children's cartoon of that? Because I want to see a children's cartoon of it.
Did it just fly down? I mean, like, it's a bottomless hole. Where was it going?
It just jumped in.
Well, I get that.
That's where he lives, man.
It's where he lives. I mean, I guess it's kind of like digging up the marrow.
No,
yeah. I don't know. But here's the thing. If you've ever seen Labyrinth, you know the little worm?
Haven't.
In Labyrinth? Oh, God. You guys
yeah, David Bowie.
All of our listeners will know the little worm in the Labyrinth with the really awesome British accent. I just always picture him and him being like, good day, tipping his hat.
Sure.
And jumping down into the hole.
That's...
So everybody's really moved by this experience. They dump the remains of the sheep back into the hole.
Don't just keep it. We need some evidence.
Mel now makes it known on the show that before he went to Nevada, he had learned that he had a lethal form of esophageal cancer.
Sure.
Okay. They gave him 6 months to live. After returning from Nevada, cancer gone. Creature healed him.
It was cured of goo.
I don't know. This creature sounds like the sweetest, cutest little thing.
Sounds horrible. What part of fetus mixed with seal don't you find repulsive?
Adorable, and it has human eyes. It's so cute. It's just looking up at him.
Oh
so,
my God, I wish Mel was here right
apparently
now.
Before he left to come back home, Mel talked to a Basque elder and was not surprised at all when he heard the story of the creature. Here, prepare yourself, Byron. Byron, prepare yourself. This Basque elder, right before Mel leaves, puts an object in his hand, told him to put it away. He put it in his pocket without looking at it. Later, he reached into his pocket, pulled something out.
Let me say it.
That the old man had once found in the area.
Dimes, right?
1943 Roosevelt dime.
Way.
You knew that dime was coming back like a bad penny.
You know, he's a good storyteller.
It's honestly the best.
It's wildly entertaining, and then he jumped the shark.
Oh my God.
Okay, so here's the final update.
He dumped all of his all possible evidence. He just throws back
down
in the
the
hole.
Bottomless pit.
Oh yeah, these pictures, they probably just dump them in the hole.
Okay.
I don't need evidence. I'll just call late night AM talk radio and share
hey,
my
you guys,
story.
can I finish my story, please?
Oh, I thought it was over.
Nope. So this is the last update. This is the last anybody's heard of Mel. December 2002. Calls on coast to coast. Helicopters have been flying over the village in Nevada. Mel feels bad because he thinks it's because he came on and talked about it. The collar around the hole becomes invisible when an observer reaches a particular distance away from it. Additionally, the mysterious 1943 dime disappears from view once you get within 15 feet of it and does not show up on film nor digital scanner. Mel also talks a little bit about the burning ice that we heard about earlier. The guy that had been using it as a heat source in his cabin was noticing that his house was always really dry, Seemed like it was dehumidifying it to an unhealthy degree. So he'd put a kettle of water over the stove to humidify the air, but it looked like the steam from the stove was lingering around the stove and even being absorbed by it, so it really wasn't helping anything. One day he came home and found the stove had actually crashed through the hearth, and the floorboards of his cabin sank a full foot into the ground. And
due to heat.
Well, due to whatever the hell this weird burning ice is.
Is this the same stuff that Shaquille O'Neal is always putting on his shoulders?
Shaquille O'Neal.
Is this icy hot?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Sorry.
So it's in the middle of winter, so he's like, well, I can't really, do anything about this right now. So he patches it up and continues to use it. A week or two later, he comes back and the entire cabin has disintegrated into piles of dry wood dust. Leaves it behind, moves in with his brothers. A month later, he comes back and sees that now it's sunk 5 feet into the ground, leaving a glassy, smooth surface on the hole it creates.
And I bet no one can find that again, right?
Well, I mean, that's, who knows?
I do. I know that there's no proof.
Maybe we should go to this Basque region in Nevada.
Do you think Mel's still there?
I don't know where Mel is. Mel decides he's going to reach back out at this point to the officials he'd been working with who had been getting him his lease payments for the land. He'd been working with him when he was in Australia. The guy that he speaks with freaks out when Mel tells him about this other hole, wants to know exactly where it is, how to get to it. And the cabin owner then gets in contact with this same official, lets him know where it is. That's when they're kind of descended upon by all of these military officials.
According to Mel.
Well, according to Mel, who spoke with these Basque guys. They couldn't tell whether it was military, scientists, or what, but they brought tons of equipment in, cranes. They keep bringing stuff in. It keeps getting heavier and heavier equipment. They're trying to get this stove and its contents out, but they can't even lift it with multiple cranes. It won't come out.
You know what would be really cool of Mel to do? Is gather a group of these elders together in these Basque villagers and create some sort of group, some sort of force, maybe like the military.
Oh my God, I can't believe you just did that. The military.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great pun, Byron.
Thanks.
Byron, it's actually it's not a great pun.
Oh, you sure?
Pretty damn sure.
Oh man, could have swore that was
the Basques are telling Mel that the creature that came out of the sheep keeps coming back to check in and say hi, and they've found a way to communicate with him. It speaks to them through one of their boom boxes.
All right. Okay. I'm gonna head out, you guys. Yeah, no. This has been fun.
No, they tried recording the dialogue, but the only thing that shows up on the tape was not dialogue,
Byron,
but just a random series of tones.
See you later.
No,
okay.
It's fine. It's science. Come back.
I don't know what Native American tradition this is, but there is a legendary creature known as a rock flyer that can live beneath the earth and then travels between multiple earths. And Mel thinks that it may be one of those.
Okay.
So the creature warned them about the burning ice and said it can and will destroy the earth in a very short amount of time if it's not used correctly. Greedy and undisciplined use of the ice would occur in this world. So the creature's trying to get them to bury all remnants and get rid of everything having to do with that ice.
What does that mean, though?
That apparently it's kind of like, I don't know, nuclear power or something like that. It's
you think it was just coincidence that they put the one thing that they're not supposed to use for a heat source into a bucket to transform it into reverse ice?
Well, maybe anything that goes down there is transformed into something you shouldn't use. I don't really know.
Reverse ice or negative ice?
But the creature also tells them that there are intelligent beings on other worlds. It's a foregone conclusion that the human race is going to blow itself up, and they plan to move in once we're gone and use the ice on this planet. And the creature said that anytime this ice is discovered anywhere in the universe, it's always improperly used. No. Almost always. Mm-hmm. And that was the end of the interview. And that was the last anybody's ever heard.
Mortal
of Mel
beings
Waters.
cannot be trusted with ice 2.0.
Mel, come up for dinner.
I wish.
Martha, I'm in the hole.
Okay, I really wish.
Lower me some lifesavers.
I freaking wish we could talk to Mel.
Everyone wants to talk to Mel. He leaves everyone hanging in all strings, loose and in knots.
Yeah.
There's nothing that makes sense about this man. Yeah. You like these Mel monsters?
I mean, it's not a monster. It's a creature. It's an adorable little cute guy.
To me, it reminds me in my head of the ass demon from Bad Milo.
And I never saw it, but sure.
That's what I see.
Okay, guys.
Well, that was fun.
Mel's hole.
I don't
That
know
was
if we
a
can
45
ever
minutes of Mel's
climb
hole.
back out of that one.
Well,
Just shout out if anybody can get us in touch with good old Mel.
it's not going to happen.
Nothing would make my life feel more complete.
I want to know Mel's doctor. That's who I want to talk to.
Which kind of doctor?
I mean, but it's really
Oh.
interesting. People around Seattle keep going on expeditions to try and find this hole. It's pretty cool. The definition of a local legend for sure.
It just disappears when you walk up to it. I mean, you can't find it.
No, well,
No, that was the one in Nevada.
They all do. There's no...
No, only the one in Nevada.
It's their protective measures. It's the cloaking device to keep humans from finding Ice 2.0 and destroying
It's
themselves.
true. Humans are assholes.
Fool me twice, shame on Mel.
That doesn't even make sense.
It does, though.
No.
One hole is fine.
Kel and Mel.
Oh, I like the ring of that.
If you enjoyed Kelly's cryptids and conspiracies this week, why don't you hit us up on Twitter with hashtag Mel?
Kel and Mel. Sure.
All
I'll
right.
take anything.
K-E-L-L and M-E-L.
What do you say we climb out of that Mel hole and talk about a film we watched called Pod?
Yeah.
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 We hope you're enjoying your visit here this evening. Now, on with the show.
Pod is a 2015 American horror film written and directed by Keating. Sam, would you like to tell us what this film is all about?
I would love to. After receiving a troubling voicemail, estranged siblings Ed and Lila, Dean Cates and Lauren Ashley Carter, travel to their isolated family lake house in Maine to hold an intervention for their increasingly paranoid war veteran brother Martin, played by Brian Morvant. But the situation rapidly spirals out of control when they discover the house completely ransacked and learn that Martin has constructed an elaborate and horrifying conspiracy theory surrounding a sinister entity that he believes he has trapped in the basement.
Fun. I'm not even going to pretend from the beginning that I don't love this movie.
Meaningless charade.
Let's get that
It
out of
was
the way.
awesome.
One of the best things I've seen so far this year.
Agreed.
The score, unrelenting, brutal. It's a major part of this film.
And it goes a long way to up the game of this movie's budget.
It's a low budget film, but it's something completely new and fresh that is 100% effective. You were about to mention the opening scene.
The opening credits.
Such a small detail that set forth
It set the tone for an incredible movie. Honestly, there are so few movies, I think, that execute this well from start to finish. There were a couple things that I didn't love about it, but nothing distracted me from the overall fact that this was an amazing movie.
It's a small cast, closed location, and it does an amazing job of suspending us completely in the world of Pod.
It takes advantage of its limitations and almost makes it work in their advantage. It doesn't necessarily follow the tropes that would cost more money and require a bigger budget to work, and it makes its own. The effectiveness of the sound and the flashes that this movie has, I've seen it done before. What comes to mind is House of a Thousand Corpses, like we were talking a little bit earlier. But to me, I could imagine this being the new jump scare in a way, like the new effective,
the sound bomb,
a visual attack. It's hard to describe even. It's brutal flashes, almost like a strobe light of violence and sound.
And it's tough to talk right now before the movie's out. It's tough to talk about some of the plot points that are so exciting and that we enjoyed so much without giving away just way too much of this movie.
Well,
So
I mean, let's just do the bare bones. So we have Ed and Lila who go into their old family cabin in Maine after their brother Martin leaves a really disturbing voicemail, and it's clear that their brother Martin has had some past struggles with mental health. One of the siblings, Ed, is a mental health specialist of some sort, and they go up there because they want to make sure that Martin's okay. They're really worried that he's fallen off the deep end, which sounds like it would be fallen off the deep end again. And they get there and Martin claims that he's got some kind of a creature locked up in the basement and he's freaking out.
So well, too.
And his acting,
Brian Morvant is incredible.
Oh my! And he's normally a stunt actor.
Is that right?
Yeah, he does stunts in movies. He's really, really well established with that.
It was kind of stunt acting.
In a way, yeah.
I mean, his acting was I'm going to say might be the best horror acting I've seen in a movie this year.
Why don't we get Bethany Orr from Excess Flesh and this gentleman together in a film?
Just have an act off.
Oh, God. It would be the most intense thing on the planet.
So intense. I was clawing the palms of my hands watching his breakdown.
Well, and you know what added to it was the layered sound. The intensity of the score. It's honestly one of the most precise scores that I've seen in a movie.
You could feel the score crawling under your skin.
And what also changes throughout with all these intense moments is the way that the camera is shot and used. It's almost as if the camera is being held by what we should emotionally be feeling. When it's calm and quiet, the camera is smooth and almost gliding. And then when these moments happen, you're a scared person in the room. You're there with Lila and Ed.
It switches, really effectively to POV. One of the most important things about this movie wasn't any one thing in particular, but for me, it was the warm fuzzies I got by all of the overt references as well as the obvious inspirations of some of my favorite films from the past, whether it's old Vincent Price movies or Twilight Zone, X-Files. I mean, this movie could have been written by Richard Matheson.
The Last Man on Earth was playing on this TV in the cabin throughout the movie, which it played part in the soundtrack as well as the lighting of the film, which was weird to have a movie be almost a character in the movie, or at least part of
that old television, and it's on and off, and the static and the blue light. I mean, it was...
And the dialogue.
Yeah, and the dialogue from the movie.
In the quiet moments when they're walking around, there's still that almost fear building from another source.
I noticed something, I don't think it's giving too much away. Martin, on his military jacket, he has his name tape, which you can make out partially at different times in the movie, but I think it says Matheson, which could, potentially be a nod to Richard Matheson.
That's a great catch.
I bet it was. I always worry there's so many things that we can't give away. This movie avoided 99% of the pitfalls that horror films can fall into, especially if they've established a good half of the movie. So many horror films will go off the deep end at the end. This really, really stayed strong. And I would say the climax of the movie was one of the best executions I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, the reveal that happens, which we're not going to talk about, happens in such an exponential way, in an unblinking and steady way, that it becomes one of the most effective things I've seen all year. It's tough to say because we're getting deeper into 2015, but honestly, this is very, very high up on my list at this point.
I would be the next few months would have to be insane for this not to make my best of 2015 list.
It's been a long time since I've seen a movie that was simultaneously so much fun and so genuinely terrifying.
A lot of the movies we've seen this year are along the same lines as other movies that we've seen as well, with exception to movies like Excess Flesh and Felt, which were truly original and unique. This isn't the same kind of movie as those, but it doesn't follow the tropes of conventional films.
No. And from what we've read, you may think that this is a typical man goes crazy. Is he delusional? Is it real? It's not one of those movies.
It's so hard to not talk about this. I can't wait.
I know.
I think this episode is going to come out. This movie comes out August 28th, I believe.
On VOD, day and date.
So this episode should be coming out right before.
Yeah, almost immediately.
Yeah,
before.
so you guys, please, all of you go watch this. Yeah, this is one that you should not miss.
Larry Fessenden is in this movie.
Yes. Really fun part that he plays too.
As always.
And I have to say, I love Lauren Ashley Carter. She was great in Jugface. I loved her YouTube series that she did for a while called Tea Time with Lauren Ashley Carter. Beyond all of that, she has one of my favorite faces in horror. She is so intense in fear and anger, and just, it's those giant bright eyes that suck me in. They're terrified all the time.
She reminds me a lot of Barbara Crampton.
Yeah, in her young
in
Barbara.
The 80s.
Yeah. So no dead giveaways on this movie. If everything plays out correctly, it will be out the day after this podcast launches on VOD and a handful of theaters, which we've got listed on Frightday.com, along with plenty of great reviews, articles, and trailers. Maybe some top 13 lists.
I have to say, you guys, I've got a couple really cool top 13 lists coming. One is a streaming list for the best haunted house films that are presently streaming. And another is 13 Alan Smithy films in the horror genre.
Fun.
Yeah.
But before we get too deep into what's on Frightday.com, why don't we grade this, right?
Oh, gosh.
That's a great idea.
This is tough.
This is really tough.
I like it more after we talked about it, even.
I kind of agree, which is very frustrating.
Yeah.
8.2.
Okay.
A really cool story, really well executed. The only reason I didn't give it even higher than that is I think some of the acting was a little bit, especially towards the beginning, was not fabulous. But oh my gosh, Martin's acting was some of the best acting I've seen, I think, in any movie this year. So 8.2. One of those that you should absolutely watch. And just so you people know who are super squeamish, there are a couple bloody parts, but there's nothing that, me being kind of the wuss of the group, there's nothing that threw me off enough to keep me from watching it.
I'm going to go 7.5 on this one. A story that I had not heard before, and it was told in an extremely compelling, terrifying, and just generally amazing fashion that gave me the warm fuzzies. And again, I just so appreciated the inspirations that it wore on its sleeve without copying any of them.
And I'm going to give it an 8.0. Dean Cates, so intense, amazing. And Mickey Keating, I think he's got a very bright future. I think this is just the beginning of some really great stuff. I saw Ritual that came out a couple of years ago. I had tons of fun with that. But this fucking movie, not everything's explained. And I love that. It doesn't insult the horror watcher, and it adds so much to the horror community. I love this movie. 8.0.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
And it won't be that long before we do have some other of Mr. Keating's work to enjoy.
Very soon. I think they're already completed. They're in post-production.
Yeah. Carnage Park and Darling.
And Darling has Lauren Ashley Carter in it as well.
That's all good news.
Coming soon, Kelly's Cryptids and Conspiracies t-shirt. We just got our notification that the backordered shirts are in. We will be printing them immediately.
But if you can't wait until then, we do have that new glow-in-the-dark Frightday.
It is so
The
cool.
glow in the dark is so rad.
I love it so much. It's my favorite shirt. And so go to
It's like wearing a nightlight.
shop.frightday.com. It'll guide your way if you have horrible nightmares. You just take your sheet off and you go, oh no, there is a real monster on my ceiling.
Oh.
This is it.
This is what they're going to find me in.
This is my demise shirt. And we appreciate everyone that's been picking these shirts up. It's amazing. And if you have a picture of you wearing the shirt, you can tweet us at Frightday. Send it our way. We'd love to see it.
Yeah.
Also, just a reminder, rate and review this show on iTunes, and we'll send you some pins. Just send your address to contact@frightday.com. We'll send you some human hair of mine, maybe, and some pins.
Facial hair.
It's fine, too. I got plenty of that. Kelly? Yes? I completely forgot to do something last week.
Oh, no.
We got to do it this week.
Eventually, I'll come up with segment music, but we're going to spend 5 to 8 seconds asking a ghost.
Oh, damn it. It's funny because I was listening to episode 35 and I'm like, I'm hoping that he just
Why would I
abandons
forget
this
that?
idea.
No. So let's come up with a different question this week. Do you have a question?
No, I don't want to ask a ghost a question. I don't want to bug them. I would prefer that they stay to their universe and I stay to mine, and I don't like disrupting them.
They're already here.
Byron,
We share
oh,
the same
God.
universe. We share the same room.
They're here. Is that Poltergeist?
They're here.
Thanks. That's good. Sam, do you have a question for a ghost? Oh, I'm flying to Austin, Texas tomorrow. Do they know about the future?
They do. I don't know if you want to know.
We could ask about the limitations of future knowledge by ghosts.
You should ask if you're going to have an open seat next to you.
Ooh, I like that. If there's a ghost in this room, in this house, come over here. Get over here, please.
Stop it.
Will I have an excellent flight and subsequent trip in Austin? You have to quit typing. We need to listen.
I don't want to listen. I don't want to hear this.
5 seconds. Thank you very much for your time, Ghost. Next week, I don't know what we're watching.
It's your birth.
Do we have any indication that ghosts know the future? Or is that something
that was what I'm asking them as well.
Oh, okay.
I have no idea if ghosts know the future, but if Mel can know everything else, a ghost can know anything.
That's good logic.
Not sure what we're watching next week. I think Sinister 2 is out, but it
8%.
8% on Rotten Tomatoes. That is rotten.
So we'll find something good to watch. We sure got lucky with this pod movie, right, guys?
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much to the pod team for sending this. We loved it.
Cherish it.
Get this on VOD right now. Or if it's in your town, check it out. It's playing at AMC theaters sporadically throughout the country. Kelly?
Yes.
I got to go edit a podcast and get on an airplane.
I know you do. I'm happy for you going to Austin.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I can't wait.
Thank you for editing the podcast.
Yeah, not a problem. Where can we find you on the internet?
At Kelly Frightday, or you can send me an email, kelly@frightday.com. I love hearing from everybody, especially all the wonderful listeners out there who side with me on everything. You guys are great.
There's no sides.
Sides. Kelly sides.
We're all on Team Frightday here, Kelly.
Team Kelly Frightday.
How about you, Sam?
I am on Team Frightday, and I am at Sam Frightday. Email me, sam@frightday.com.
And I'm at Byron McKoy on Twitter. Byron@frightday.com is my email address. And send me your favorite serial killers, please. Ugh. It's so fun to get that. And until next week, I'm Byron.
I'm Kelly.
And I'm Sam.
Stay out of the basement.